Well, I hate to say it, but the Sony X90L, well, we may not actually be getting it. The Hisense U8K in just a couple of months might officially be our last TV for a little while. Let's get into the video. Let's get into the news, shall we? Alright, so you probably know of a video that we did, which is still getting, like, decent bit of views, like, every single day. You probably already know that our last bit of TV purchases were going to be the TCL QM8, which we already got now, as you're seeing the box right back there in our hallway, and then the Hisense U8K, and then our last one for early 2024 we was looking into getting was going to be the Sony X90L. Well, ratings.com, a really good, reliable company that does all kinds of good reviews on all TVs related, and they honestly do give out the best, like, ratings for, like, each category of the TVs, whether it be HDR movies or gaming or HDR gaming and whatever. They usually give out the most accurate, like, ratings for each individual usage. But the Sony X90L, it does not look that much different from the X90K, which is what we got. And even better yet, with the X90J that we also have as well, I honestly think that we're going to keep the X90J instead and not get the X90L. Because see, the X90J, okay, there is a noticeable difference between the X90J and the X90K. The X90K has a really good wide color gamut. Colors absolutely look vivid and absolutely pop. The colors are still good, and they still look vivid on the X90J, but they're definitely not as rich or as vibrant as the Sony X90K is. Minus also the brightness. The X90K does, however, have a slightly bit of better brightness than the X90J, but it's actually not really that much of a noticeable difference if I were to be a betting man. Honestly, the X90J and the X90K look exactly identical, minus the X90J not being able to support a wide color gamut, and the X90K do supporting a wide color gamut, and the colors looking more vivid on the X90K. Other than that, the TVs don't look that much different. And with the X90L from Sony, well, it even looks even way more not noticeable from the X90K. Like, the only thing that looks like it's different from the X90K to the X90L is mainly the brightness. Like, the brightness is the only thing that looks basically different. And slightly bit of contrast, like better contrast or whatever. But other than that, you're talking 34,000 to 42,000, which for contrast, that's not really a noticeable difference. Like, it's going to look basically identical. The only way that you're going to be able to tell a difference in contrast is if a TV, like, say, like with the X90L being able to produce 42,000 to 1 of contrast ratio, you got to compare that with something that either has double or more, something like the TCL QM8 and the Hisense U8H, not the U8K, but most likely it will be the U8K as well, but also last year's model Hisense U8H. That's the only way you're going to be able to tell a big difference in contrast from an LCD TV and such. But, like, not even like 8,000 extra, yeah, like, you're not going to be able to tell a difference at all. So, other than that, the HDR highlights are almost exactly identical, even though the ratings do have HDR brightness and HDR gaming is way better on the X90L than the X90K. But the HDR like brightness and highlights, especially for gaming on the X90K, I honestly still think it looks really good, and the HDR highlights still absolutely pop when you're gaming. Like, the highlights absolutely still pop. It still looks rich and vivid, has really good contrast, and the gaming performance with HDR is still really impressive on the X90K. So, minus that, the color gamut on the X90L is literally exactly the same as the X90K, so the colors are going to just look pretty much the same, minus also the input lag for gaming is also exactly the same from what ratings had. It is a 17.5 to 18 milliseconds at 4K and basically all resolutions at 60 hertz. So really, when you just really look at the main picture, the X90L, I about said the X90A for a second, but the X90L is literally basically the same thing as the X90K, minus just having slightly bit of better higher peak brightness and slightly better HDR highlights. Other than that, I mean, I just don't think that it's a big difference. Even with the X90J going to the X90K, which, like we said, we have both of those TVs. We have the X90J and the X90L, or X90K, I should say. I don't know why I said X90L. We have both, the K and the J. But even with those ones, you can see the differences because the X90K does have way better colors than the X90J, but the X90J is still really good and still has the good, Sony new XR processor to give you those little details on certain, areas of the TV that you're looking at, depending on whether if you're gaming or watching TV shows or whatever. Like, it's still got the new XR processor, and the contrast is still incredibly good too. And both TVs still have incredible black levels. Now, there is some blooming on both of them, and I do notice that it is completely a little bit more on the X90K than with the X90J. But honestly, I still think that the X90K still looks pretty good overall, and the black levels are still decent, minus having some little bit of blooming. But personally with us, we don't really care for that, mostly because, we're not really sitting there, like watching, a black background, with like a little mouse going through there just to see, like, just to want to just count the lights just for the heck of it. Like, we use the TV to actually use it what it's for, like to play games or watch, content on it. Like, that's just what I know it's weird. I know people are going to probably whatever in the comment section, but like, that's just what you use the TV for. You don't use it to be on a black background to look at, individual, zones or backlighting, and such. You're using it to watch TV, to watch content, or to play video games on it. And as long as games and TV shows look absolutely crisp and have very good colors, that's all that really matters. But I do see like where some people are coming from, but just with us, like, blooming doesn't really affect us as long as we got a really good, beautiful picture that has awesome colors and awesome contrast and wonderful highlights, especially HDR highlights, and it's got great gaming performance. And I will admit, the Sony X90K has all of that. So, comparing the X90K with the X90L, I just don't see the point. I don't see the point of upgrading from the X90J, not the X90K, but the X90J, and as well as the X90K, to the X90L. I just don't see the point, because overall it just looks exactly the same as the X90K, and keeping the X90J instead, comparing our X90K to where we can see the colors looking good on both, but seeing the X90K being the more premium with colors than the X90J, yeah. I just don't think we're going to be, getting the X90L Sony like we were originally planned for early 2024. So with that being said, honestly, the Hisense U8K is probably going to be our last TV that we're going to get for basically a little while. And we might be getting that TV the earliest I can expect to get this TV and for our review to come for it is either late October to early November. And that might sound like that's not actually that far out, but it's really not. But it's still quite a couple months out, and we still got to finish paying off our TCL that we just got, which is an incredible TV for the pricing. And I can honestly tell we're going to be very impressed with the Hisense U8K. May not be quite as impressed as the TCL, but the U8K, it's still going to be an impressive TV for especially $100 to $200 cheaper than the TCL. It's definitely going to be still really good overall. So be sure to stay tuned in for the Hisense U8K review once we get it in just a couple of months. But that honestly is going to be our last TV for probably a good while, because we got all kinds of other stuff like Grand Theft Auto 6, a completely new generation Nintendo console, as well as an upgraded PS5 Pro, all coming out and rumored to be coming for next year. 2024 looks like there's a lot of excitement coming for, especially when it comes to gaming, when it comes to new consoles, and especially the biggest game of all time. So we're going to have to honestly hold off and take a break from buying and reviewing some TVs for probably at least several months, if anything. So the Hisense U8K will be our last TV for a little while, in just a few months. And the X90L, now after the review from Ratings came out for it, yeah, now it's just not worth it. It's just more worth to keep the X90J and not upgrade the X90J to the X90L. So, but that pretty much does it for our video for today. This is Tech and Gaming Reviews. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you guys could smack that like button, subscribe if you are new, and be sure to leave us a comment down in the comment section of your thoughts of you guys owning either a Sony X90J or a Sony X90K last year model, and if you agree that the X90L for 2023 is not worth the upgrade from either both of the X90K and the X90J, however. So yeah, just leave us your thoughts down in the comment section down below of your thoughts with the X90J and K compared to the X90L. And subscribe if you're new. Hit that like button. And we will see you on the next one. So this is Tech and Gaming Reviews. Rate, comment, subscribe. And we will catch you on the next one. Peace.